And we've got a Pontiac 400 on the dyno with issues, so let's figure it out. Okay, here we go. Whoa.
Welcome back to Nick's Garage. This little shop just north of Montreal is where Nick builds new power into old school muscle cars. Today, he has another iconic engine on his dyno for break-in and testing. It's a Pontiac 400, destined to go into a GTO convertible. But before the engine can tear up the streets, it has to pass Nick's tests.
Okay, we got something special today on the dyno. It's not a Mopar. It's a Pontiac 400 cubic inch engine that belongs to Joe for his 1969 GTO convertible. He bought this engine from somebody he knew, and the only thing I've done is install a rammer 4 cam that he brought in, and also he brought me a set of heads to install, replace what was on the engine in the first place. He bought it as a complete motor, so I replaced the cylinder heads, I put in the rammer 4 cam he brought, then we just put it together, then I went to prime it. And when I primed it, all we had was 35 pounds of pressure, cold pressure with a 2050 oil. So I said, you know what, I better change the oil pump. I bought another oil pump, high pressure. I've installed it, and of course now we gotta get it started. I wanna see what we're gonna have as, first of all, we got a brake in the cam. What kind of horsepower it's gonna make, I do not know. We're using Petro-Canada 94 octane. The engine right now, this one here is a 10.2 compression ratio, but from the factory it was a 10.75. But what kind of horsepower, I have no idea. So let's start by breaking in the cam, and hopefully we got good oil pressure, because when I primed it with the new pump, I had 90 pounds of pressure. So one way to find out is let's get it running, break it in, and then see what it does. It's a nice car, it's a cruiser. And it is not looking for crazy power, it just wanted a nice cruising machine. So this 400 cubic inch, hopefully, from the factory rammer 4 with a 10.75 compression ratio was rated 330 horsepower. It's got a factory intake manifold, cast iron, and we got a small set of headers which are, I believe, 1 3/4 inch, and we'll take it from there. You know, this is an engine that wasn't built by myself. My client bought it off someone that he knew. It was a complete motor. All I did was when he brought it here, he told me to replace the cam and install another set of heads with a new set of valve springs. So I installed the heads on, replaced the cam, put it together. We found out it was low oil pressure, changed the oil pump. We got 90 pounds of pressure this time versus 35 when it first came in. And you know what? Let's find out and see what it does. And the reason we replaced the cylinder heads because the heads down the 400 that were on this block when he bought it were not the one he wanted. He wanted to pick up a casting. I'm not so sure what number these castings are. He wanted to go with the 1969 era. So that is the reason why he brought these heads and for me to replace them. And here they are. What number they are, I'm not so sure. Is it a 4.8? Well, whatever. Maybe you guys can tell me. And we've got a Rochester 4-barrel, cast iron intake with a 1.5 rockers. Nothing very special. Just a simple 400 Pontiac motor. And if everything goes well, we are going to have it painted after, we're going to put it on a stand, and before it gets installed in the car, it will be painted this color right here. So I'm ready to get it started and see what it does. So let's start by breaking in the cam. It's not very common to get a Pontiac engine. I used to work for Pontiac back in 1976 for 5 years. I've done quite a few of them over there. And now I've got another Pontiac here in my hands. It's in the dyno. We're gonna test it for Joe. And let's hope, I hope we make over 300 horsepower because we have less compression. It is a ram air 4 cam, and the specs are not on the cam. I bought the cam, and or should I say my client brought it in. I don't know where he bought it from, and he brought the lifters, the cam, so we put it together. We put also a new set of valve springs, and that's all. That was it. It's a standard bore. It had new rings installed. Apparently somebody built it, and I looked at the pan underneath. Somebody put new bearings on it. Standard bore, and the pump was used. So what I did is I bought a new pump, high pressure, and installed it. You know, to break in a cam, we got to start it right away and keep it to 2,000 RPM for almost 20 minutes. Okay, it's 9:15. Let me get all the information in the computer. You know, I prime the engine. You know, usually I prime every engine before I put onto the dynamometer. And you know, this engine was built by somebody else, so I had to assemble the cylinder heads, put on the rockers, of course, and prime it. And when I primed it on my gauge, I had a maximum of 35 psi. And we also had a 2050 oil. So I replaced the pump. I bought a high pressure, and I hope it does the job. Now, is there a bleed off anywhere? I don't know. I've also had an experience with a Pontiac engine that when it was cold, it ran 60 pounds of pressure. Then when it warmed up, it went down to 20 pounds. So in this case, now I got a high pressure pump. Let's see what it does. Again, it is another Pontiac engine, which got it has large crankshaft main journals. They're so big, so they need oil. So with this pump, I think it should do the job. Here we go. You know, it's got cast pistons. Somebody, whoever did the engine before, he had cleaned the block, put new rings. Did he balance it? I'm not sure. We're gonna see if it's got any vibration. My job was just to replace the cylinder heads, camshaft, and get it on the dyno. And here we are. It's at 399.9 cubic inch, which equals 400 cubic inch. We're gonna take it at 2800 to 4500 RPM at 300 RPM per second. All right, first of all, let's get it started. To break in the cam. Is everything there? Water's on. Okay, I think I'm ready. All right, here we go. And by the way, this carburetor does not belong to my client. It belongs to one of my friends. I borrowed it. It's tuned for mild performance, but in this case, it might be running rich. I wouldn't be surprised because we don't have any metering rods in the back, if I remember correctly. Here we go. Yeah, full throttle is gonna run rich. I do have another carburetor, which belongs to my client, but after I break it in, I will replace it and see how it goes. But first we'll do some testing with this. Okay, I'm not hooking up the vacuum advance, which I'm gonna hook it up later on, but right now I just wanna break it in. Okay, here we go. This goes here. It started. Okay, that is the reason why I prime the engine. You see, when you break in a cam, you know, you want to prime the engine, get all the lifters full of oil. Okay, here we go. Whoa. Whoa. That turns clockwise. Wait a minute, I marked the top dead center. I marked the top dead center. Okay. Come on, Nick, let's get it going.
cam break-in period begins, Nick dials in the dynamometer resistance and keeps an eye on the oil pressure. It was too low when the engine came to the shop. Now it seems like it's too high.
100 psi oil pressure. Oh well. Let it warm up, we'll see. roughly 40 pounds. There you go. There we go. See that we had 100 pounds of pressure, cold engine, 20W50 motor oil. That's the grade I just used. And now we got 40 pounds of oil pressure, hot, idle. So I'm going to leave it there because most of the time the engine is hot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just get it started. I'm going to check the timing, make sure we got the timer I want, and then let's go do some testing. We got no oil leaks. I got no engine valve lifter rocker noises whatsoever. So I'm going to set the timing and let's do some testing. Are you guys ready? Let's go. 40 pounds of oil pressure, hot, idle is great. We're going to make some testing right now. I just want to set the time and want to see where it is. I have it roughly at 36 degrees. But at full throttle, I want to see what I got. Okay, I set the timing at 36, 37 degrees without the vacuum. Then I put the vacuum back on and I'm ready to make a test. And don't forget, we got a 10.2 compression ratio. We are running a 94 octane fuel. And I think I'm ready to get it running. So oil pressure falls about 40 to 45 pounds of pressure on idle, hot. So I'm gonna leave it there. I don't want to experience the other thing we had with another Pontiac that only had 20 pounds of pressure. But then again, a lot of people run that kind of low oil pressure when the Pontiac's engines get hot. But I think I'm going to leave it as it is. I think it's good. But let's get it tested. Let's warm it up good and see what happens. Here we go. Wow. We're going to take it from 2,800 RPMs to 45. Wow. I've gone deaf lately, so let me wear my earphones. Here we go. Wow. Okay, we got a problem here. Oh, I didn't want to go full acceleration. Okay. Let's shut the fan, see what's going on. Maybe the absorber's locking it too early. I'm not so sure. Okay, I'm just gonna, I can't get full throttle. All right. I'm gonna have to do some testing to see what's going on. This is not working. I don't think it's the carburetor, but you know what? We gotta figure it out. Okay, leave that there. That's good. Let's get it running, see what it does. What's happened there? Should start. I gotta check my absorber. Here we go. With my French carburetor, it runs way too rich, so I cannot run this carburetor. Not on this basic stock engine. You can see it's got no metering rods on the secondary, so when the secondaries open up, it runs super rich and it stalls my engine. So what I gotta work on now is another carburetor to get it going. And that's what we've got. So let's see what we got to get going. Let's go. Wow. Oh. You can see there's no metering rods here. So what am I going to do now? Do I use my client's carburetor? It says This carb is no AFR ratio 20.0. Wow. Tell you what, I'm going to put some meter rods on this one from this carburetor, and hopefully it works. Here we go. Now, are these meter rods going to work? I'm not sure, but you know what? Better than nothing. Here we go. Well, you know what? The meter rods control the air-fuel ratio when the secondaries open up on the rear jets. But in this case, this carburetor was designed for racing full throttle. But this is not a race engine. So what it is, instead of replacing the complete carburetor, because this one seems to be running very, very lean from what I see on the tag. So what it is, I took the meter rods from his carburetor, put them on that, and let's go full throttle and see what happens. Here we go. Because I noticed when I went full throttle, it was way, way, way too rich. You can see the air-fuel ratio was way down. So let's try it again. Hopefully it works. Put on my O2 sensor. Hope I didn't foul up the plugs. I don't know why. The timing is at 36, 37 degrees. Okay, let's go. I got to make sure the load on the servo is about 95 to 100, 90 to 100%. Here we go. Let's try it one more time. Here we go. Oh, it's really cracking up, eh? No. Here, we did a rough test. This is what we got. It was running very, very rich. Wow, we didn't hit 5,000 RPM yet, we got a misfire. I believe it's running super rich. No, I can't work with this carburetor. I gotta find something. You know what? I'm not set up for Rochester's. So now I gotta do something for a Rochester setup. I'm not going to tamper with this carburetor. It doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to my customer. It belongs to a friend of mine, so I'm not going to work with this. I'm going to have to... Why we have misfire? Why? Maybe I'll just make one more test. Maybe it was cleaning out the plugs as I was loading it. You know what? Let's give it another shot. And what happened here? Where does this come from? Ah, doesn't matter. Wherever it came from doesn't look like it came from this engine. All right. I'm going to check the timing one more time. All right, let's check the timing one more time. something. The timing is good. I just backed up a little bit, but I think it's air-fuel ratio that's causing our problems. Here we go. Okay. See me running worse. Oh well. There's fuel ratio. Wow, 11.3, 11.2. Okay. I'm gonna shut it down. We're gonna shut it down. We're running way too rich with this carburetor. I gotta find another carburetor. This is not working for me. It's running 11.2, 11.1 air fuel ratio. I backed up the timing. We really lost a lot of power. And from what I think, well, I backed up the timing. It wasn't much anyways. There we go. What's happening here? We got a misfire. We did better before, actually. Why? I'm just gonna make one more test and then I'm gonna shut it down. I'm gonna look for another carburetor. I believe that thing's running way too rich. The timing's at 36 degrees, full throttle. And you know what? Maybe I'll try without vacuum on the distributor. Let me try that. That goes there. Why? I'm going to advance the timing a little bit. Okay, George, this is going to be a problem now. I don't like his wires. I don't like the carburetor. And I have to do a search on the cylinder heads. It's a casting number 48. I believe he's got the wrong plugs. I'm sure he does. Anyways, I just put it together the way he brought it. Anyways, I'm just going to do some research before I go any further. All right, I just disconnected the vacuum. I know it's got ported vacuum, but you know what? It doesn't matter. It's full throttle. I got my timing at 36, 37 degrees, but I advanced it another thing back to 37. So let's make one more test and we'll see, because from what I see, it's running way too rich. And I believe these cylinder heads are, I don't know what year they are. I'm going to do some research. I really don't think they're the right plugs, and I'm going to get another set of wiring. And we are running on a set of points. I also had the points replaced. Let me just check that well. Give me a second. You know, a lot of people don't know this. Old school. This is really old school, you guys. Okay, here we go. I just want to check the dual on the points. It should be between 28 and 30, I'm sure. According to my filler gauge, that's where it should be. Okay, here we go. Let me just warm it up. That's the dual on the point. It's all good. Okay, let's make the test. No, it didn't go well at all. Oh, okay, we gotta look at what's going on. First of all, it's running way too rich. All right, I know that we got some issues here. It's got a lot of misfire. It's running very rich. I don't have a carburetor. I'm gonna try to see if I can fit his carburetor, see if I can get it running. I don't know if we're gonna have any problems with it. Well, one thing we know is the oil pressure is good on hot idle. We got no oil leaks. The cam is broken in. So now I just got to figure out a carburetor, make it work with the cast iron intake, because this is a spread bore intake manifold. I'm not going to work with another carburetor. I'll try to fix his if I can. And I know I've got the wrong spark plugs. And the cylinder heads he had replaced are casting 48, which I don't know what year they are. So I'm going to do some search and get the right spark plug for this application. Yes, and after all, this is the purpose for the dyno. Not only do we look for horsepower, we look for the problems. And you know what? We're gonna have to go further deep into it and fix it. So before I deliver this engine, it's gonna run perfect. We gotta max out the horsepower and make sure everything, air fuel ratio is good, timing, correct spark plugs, and we take it from there. Thank you for joining me in the dyno. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. And also stay tuned for future updates on this engine. And have a nice day. Thank you.
So this problematic Pontiac gave Nick a run for his money. But Nick tracked down the correct spark plugs for the engine, swapped out the carb for one of his dyno room Holly carburetors, and ditched the old somewhat loose points distributor for a more modern HEI unit. The results? 352 horsepower and nearly 402 foot-pounds of torque. All that's left after a fresh coat of paint is to drop this beauty into Joe's GTO and cruise it on down the road.
And you guys, if you look down below the video, we have a whole bunch of merchandise that you guys can buy. So whatever you like, buy it, love it, wear it, and enjoy it. And help spread the word of Nick's Garage. And if you have some time, check out our Patreon page. We have extra content and you guys can watch it and take it from there. And we'll see you next time.